Alright, so now we're going to work on tutorial number 2, creating and modifying NURB surfaces. We're going to make what looks at first to be a fairly simple shape, but if once you look at it closer, you'll realize it actually has some complex curves in it. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these in the same file. I'm going to switch back to wireframe here, and I'm just going to take my previous project and drag it out of the way. We'll put the ball back together later, but I don't want that cluttering up. So the first thing we want to do is draw a rectangle that's 6 inches by 1.5 inches. So 6 inches by 1.5 inches. Alright, so there's that. And we're going to extrude it 1.5. Model extrude 1.5. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and go back and open GL so I can see what's happening. On to page 2. So the next thing I need to do is to convert this from a regular solid object into a NURBS surface. So if you'll see in object info, it just says extrude. So I need to go to modify, convert to NURBS. And now you'll see that it's a group because it's no longer a solid extrusion, it's now a collection of 6 different faces. So if you edit this group, if you go into it, double click, at first glance this looks like it's just our regular extrusion, but now you'll see that when I pull this away, and don't do this, I'm just showing you what's going on here, it's converted it from a solid into a collection of the 6 different faces of the box. So that's what's going on. So we're going to exit group, ungroup, yeah, okay, modify, ungroup. So we've got 6 different faces now. We're going to select the top face. So make sure the top face is still selected. There we go. In object info, we're going to look at the NURBS properties. So here are the NURBS properties. And in the object info palette, change U degrees to 2 and V degrees to 2. So first of all, we want to make sure to show vertices. So you can see that right now this is only controllable by 4 points, the 4 corners. But if I change this to 2 and change, and you see what happened there is we added a center. By changing it to 2, we added a center point there, and we're going to change this to 2, which will add, so I'm going to change that to 2, which will add another center point. So we've gone from being able to control it by 4 points. It also added a center. That last one did a center point here and a center point here. So we've gone from 4 control points to 9 control points. You can, if I make this whatever you want, if I make this 10, then we've got even more control points. And what you can do with the control points is use the reshape tool to control the surface that way. We're going to do a more controlled control. So I'm going to undo all of that. Undo, back to 2 by 2. Okay. So on to page 3, and this is probably the trickiest part of this because it took me a long time to figure out what's going on here when I first did this a couple years ago, and it's hard to see. In either U or V, edit U or edit V, click the arrows until the vertex at the center of the top surface is selected. Okay, so what they're saying is we want to select this vertex, the one that's in the center of it. And the way this works is really irritating to me. If you click here and look at the surface, you'll notice that this one just blinked. I'm going to do it again, and now this one just blinked. And if I click it again, this one's going to blink. And I can just keep going through those. So U is in that direction. So what I want to do is get to the center one, U, and then V will go in this direction. So there, I clicked that once and it made this one blink. So that's the one that I want. I'm going to keep going just to show you what's happening. So now that one blinked, now this one blinked, now that one blinked. So what I want is to make this one be the last one that blinked, which means that it's the one that's selected. If you look really closely, you'll see that it's got a little bit of red, or well, it had a little bit of red around it. But why they don't have a better selection method than that is a little bit beyond me. But at any rate, that's what it is. So we want to highlight the one in the center, and we're going to move that vertex, and only that vertex, up 1.5 inches. So we want to select move vertex only, and we're going to change the Z. It says 1.5, we're going to change it to 3. 3. And you'll see what happened is it moved this point up. It didn't exactly move it up 3 inches. If we look at this from the front, if this is 1.5 inches, this is certainly not another 1.5 inches, but it moved, the point has been moved up 1.5 inches, the control point, but you have to really drag this up a ways to get this to go up 1.5 inches. But so that's not what we're trying to do. We're moving the control point up 1.5 inches by changing it from 1.5 to 3. I'm gonna hit 3 here. Okay, so now reshape the bottom surface. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. So gonna rotate around. I'm gonna select the bottom. I'm gonna change this from 1 to 2. Change this from 1 to 2. Select that one, and then move it up, or change that from 0 now to 1.5. To be perfectly honest, you also could have just copied the top. You could have duplicated the top, Command D, and moved it, deleted the bottom and moved this down to be the bottom, so that would have worked too. But so now we've got this shape that's sort of bulging out on top, and the same shape is convex on the bottom. So that's up to here. Now we're going to turn it back into a solid. So we're going to select all the surfaces and add them together by doing model add solids. So if I select all of these, all 6 of these, it's going to say 6 NURB surfaces. So it's 6 individual, just so you can see. It's a hollow box that's got 6 individual faces now. So we're going to select them all, model add solids, and now it's back to being one solid box. It is in fact not actually solid. It's still hollow on the inside, but it's all of the faces have been added together. So making it a solid, and I'm doing air quotes that you can't see, it's a little bit of a misnomer because we didn't actually make it a solid, but we made it a complete piece that has all 6 pieces together. On to page 4. So now we're going to use the fillet tool to round over our edges. We're going to do a 1/2 inch fillet. So just going to rotate this. And yes, it is fillet, not fillet, just in case you're wondering. 2.5. So then I'm going to click here, hold down Shift, click here, Shift, hold here, there, Option Shift to get that corner, and then click OK, and it will give me this shape. So now that's access to here. And now we're going to round over the sort of the whole, we're going to smooth the whole thing. So we're going to do a 0.4 radius, but we want to select all of the top and all of the bottom. So fillet 0.4. I wonder if we do select faces. Not sure that this will work, but interesting. Yeah, it's much easier than the way they do it. So, because they're having you go back and select all of the individual edges again, but in the fillet tool here in preferences, you can tell it to, rather than select edges, select faces, and you can select the two faces. You can also tell it to select all edges. Let's see what happens if we do that. So if we do there, and then that, hey, look, it does it all in one fell swoop. So that gives us this shape, which reminds me of a telephone from the 80s. If that doesn't make any sense to you, look up telephones. Not wireless, but they had these antennas on them that went back to a base station. It's the phone that I had in college. Shortly after we stopped communicating by rubbing rocks together, I guess. But anyway, so that's tutorial number 2. Once again, if you want to add a texture to it, you are welcome to. Where's the, oh, there it is. So I'll render. We're going to make this, it seems like I'm in a metal mood today, so we'll make this bronze. Alright, there we have it. So now we have an aluminum box and a bronze Twinkie, basically, or telephone from the 80s. I'm going to slide this over here to get it out of the way, because I know I'm going to do the next project in the center.